Hey everybody, this is Nick with Rogue Overland, and in this video I'm excited to be out here with Cam from Harker Outdoors, and we're going to talk about the EDC, a standalone living quarters for your pickup truck. All right, so here we are. Like I said, we're going to be going through the EDC. And Cam, thank you for being out here.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely, absolutely. Really excited to have you talk about this. We just went through one of the trails out here at Sand Hollow, and so I got to see how this vehicle actually does do quite well even on the trails for how comfortable it can be when you're sleeping in it.
Yeah, what did you think? 300 pounds is what we come in at with our base camper, so that keeps you agile, and it makes a difference out on these trails.
Huge, absolutely huge. Yeah, so tell us about it a little bit here. I'd like to know, how did it come about, and what does EDC even mean?
Sure, well thank you. First of all to Nick here with Rogue Overland and Fat Bob's Garage, who invited us out here today. Well, how did things begin with Harker Outdoors? Well, Joe, my partner and I, Joe Harker, which is where the name comes from, he and I have been friends since junior high, and so I've always watched him on Facebook and Instagram building awesome things, and you know, whether it's a Jeep or a camper or from scratch by hand, and I was always just enthralled with the level of skill he had. Me personally came from an entrepreneurial background, and he and I found ourselves 25 years out of junior high and both looking for a new project. So
love it.
That's how Harker Outdoors was born.
So kind of a natural collaboration.
Yeah, it really did work out perfectly. And in terms of how the product itself evolved, we were looking around. We had both been into the overlanding thing. Joe had built his own teardrop. I was pulling a trailer with a bed rack and the tent and that whole thing, and
that's a lot.
We started to look around, and we saw the wedge campers that were kind of coming into mainstream and becoming more popular, and man, they were awesome. We also saw some pretty common pain points that we thought, hey, maybe we could solve those for the customer and see if we could come up with our own version of that. And so that's where we started.
Okay.
And nice. What were those pain points? Well, crawling to entry. A lot of these wedge campers, you kind of have to do a trap door, crawl across the tailgate, up and in to your sleeping quarters.
Which can be a challenge depending on your physical abilities or any disabilities.
Absolutely. And we also saw limitation in terms of standing room. So we want to maximize standing room, get rid of that crawl to enter kind of headache. And we still wanted the thing to set up in under a minute.
Yeah.
And so that's what we set out to do, and I think we've done it. So we're happy with it.
Which it does. It does set up fast, and I'm probably going to overlay some video of that right here. But I watched you guys set up all three of these in a matter of 90 seconds, 2 minutes, something like that. I'll put the exact time somewhere around here so you guys can see that, but it is quite quick.
It is, and if pressed, gun to our head, we can do it in under a minute. We've timed it out, so we feel confident saying that it's fast. And along with that is we keep 4.5 inches of bedding space built into the camper lid. So when you pull up to camp and you have that 60-second setup, I mean, you're set up. You could crawl into bed. So
that's a good point then, because I know and if you watch any of our other videos, you know that we've pretty much done it all: ground tents, bed setups, rooftop tents, and some of the issues with some of those is that your bedding can't store in it. So now you have you have this sleeping setup arrangement, but then you have to also still find a place for your bedding. So you're saying that your sleeping bag, your pillow, all that stuff can actually stow inside of this?
Absolutely, within that 4.5 inches. So
for the bed area.
We run, the nice inflatable yet foam-filled pads that you can get them down to about 1.5 inches and still keep some down blanket, wool blanket, all right up there, even a pillow.
And that bedding, that bed area, I should say, it actually stows above, I guess, what we would call the roof when you are at camp and not sleeping.
Yes. So that sleep platform lifts up to the ceiling, and you'll see that here on the video. And your bedding can remain in place in that function as well. So. Awesome. You don't have to stuff your sleeping bags to get that standing room, which is
that's great.
A killer feature.
That's great. Yes. And if you're sleeping I know your partner said that he travels with 5 people, which I also travel with 5 people, my wife and 2 kids, and being able to have that extra space by getting your sleeping gear up and away it's a game changer.
Yes, and I can't wait to show you inside, Nick, because these are 5-foot truck beds, right, on these Gladiators and the Chevy Colorado behind us here. And we're taking, by virtue of enclosing the tailgate with our tailgate annex,
Yep.
and lifting that bed up to the ceiling, you're getting so much living space in what is really a small truck bed.
Yeah, so let's take half a step back. I want to
Sure.
definitely talk about that setup. Tell me about let's talk about the exterior and the structure of it. So tell me about what is it made of? I know you said, I believe you said 300 pounds.
Yes.
So
yes.
so what are you building it out of so that we can achieve such a lightweight?
Right. Well, that's a great question. We are a fully welded steel frame, which may be surprising, but we
great.
found, in terms of rigidity, rattling these things down trails,
yeah.
you want that flex in the steel. So a fully welded steel frame, it's skinned in aluminum,
Okay.
and our roof structure and sleep platform both are made out of an aluminum composite, a 10 millimeter aluminum composite material, which
Okay.
is where we save the weight.
Gotcha.
But it's also very strong and very durable.
Yeah, and for somebody who's going to be into maybe doing some light rock crawling or aggressive rock crawling, having that structure, that highest portion of the structure being lightweight aluminum, that's going to help with your center of gravity as well, which can be important on those tippy trails.
Yes, you don't want a lot of weight up high, which,
Okay. Now, so let's talk about, I know you commented lightly, let's talk a little more extensively on, you're enclosing the tailgate. So if you could tell us about the structure of the fabric of the tent, anything you want to comment on that, and then
Sure.
how that works with enclosing the tailgate.
Yes, so by virtue of wanting to solve that crawl to enter problem, we found that, well, it's hard to do that with a rear crossbar on the camper, right? That's just sort of,
Right.
That's what's causing that issue. And so we went with kind of a revolutionary design there to get rid of the rear crossbar completely. So
Okay.
the rear hatch of the camper latches to the lid of the camper, and when you set up the camper, you remove that rear hatch.
Okay.
That rear hatch, as you'll see here, turns into 10 square feet of tabletop space,
Which is huge when you're
which is awesome.
trying to make dinner on the trail.
Tables on the trail. Nobody has solved that perfectly, but this is great because you're bringing it anyway. It's the rear hatch of your camper,
Right.
and now it's your table. So that's great. And then in terms of the tenting material itself, we use a ripstop canvas that's got waterproofing. And we've done some cool things with dual wall design and bungee to really get a nice snug fit around that tailgate.
Okay.
Because you've kind of got a strange triangle there where the truck meets the tailgate, and we found with this double wall design we can really close off any airflow there and keep you warm and dry inside.
Nice and warm.
And there's snaps that come down, 3 snaps down either side of the camper,
Okay.
and then stakeout points that can either go down and underneath your vehicle or
Okay.
down to the ground.
Nice.
If it's a windy condition, you want to stake it out to the ground, but it's amazingly robust and sturdy on the rear end there with the camper tent material.
Yeah. Okay. So you've had it out in the wind. I know you've done some pretty extensive testing. You've had it out in the wind, and it holds up fairly well then.
It does. Mother Nature is undefeated, so I'm not going to tell you to send it up in a tornado or a hurricane. But in terms of anything else that you would feel comfortable tent camping in,
Yep.
you're not going to have a problem with your Harker.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I just want to take one comment, a question on the rigidity. So I know that you are setting this up to be able to get out to those places where maybe something not quite as capable is going to be able to get out to, or like you've commented on trailers. I mean, we can have a whole discussion on trailers.
Sure.
But what you're finding then is without having that crossbar, you guys still have plenty of rigidity as far as when you're out on the trail, because you've got the lid coming down and then you have the hatch attaching, and so that's adding some structural rigidity there.
Correct. Now, it will flex, and some of our long bed clients, in a long bed Tacoma or full-size trucks, they will opt for bed stiffeners there in the rear corners of the bed.
Right, which most people are doing anyway.
Sure.
if you're getting out.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really liked when you were walking me around this a little bit earlier today is you actually have access points from the outside. There's a hatch access, which then gets to it's not exactly MOLLE panel, but some type of steel panel with plenty of areas to attach products. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, that is an option, optional equipment you can add to your Harker, a rear access hatch, or sorry, a side access hatch.
Okay.
And it is a MOLLE panel actually.
Oh, it is,
that
okay.
is in there, a metal, aluminum MOLLE panel.
Okay.
And the way I've set it up here on my rig, Nick, is exactly that, for exterior access, for recovery gear, air down gear, my inflation hose, all of that's just right there for quick access.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's clutch, because I'm sure we've all been on the trail with somebody where, their truck is sitting like this and we need to attach winch line or something, and you say, hey, where's your winch controller, or where are your shackles? And it's like, oh, it's in the back and you can't get access to it. So having that quick access to things that you're using a lot, especially recover gear, I think it's hugely beneficial.
Absolutely, and I think that speaks to something that really sets us apart relative to other wedge campers in the segment, and that is that we've really designed this thing to carry your overlanding gear. So you'll notice on the Harkers behind us here, we've got an L-track mounting system, top and bottom, both sides of the camper, and that's for your roto packs, your traction boards, axes, shovels, propane tank.
Yes.
All of that can fit on the exterior, so that when it comes time that those things get used and they get muddy, they don't have to go inside your living space. They can just get stuck right back on the outside of the camper. So.
And we have some experience with that L-track on some of the builds that we've done, and it's really functional in the sense, almost modular, where depending on there's different types of attachments you can get, and then you can pick, what is it, like every 1/4 inch or something, you can attach something else. So you can attach pretty much anything to the outside within reason, weight-wise?
I was skeptical of the L-track as we were designing this, and Joe really, convinced me, and I'm glad he did. It does. It creates really, a universal grid there by virtue of utilizing our vertical accessory bars and all the different fasteners like you mentioned. You can really attach anything there, diesel heaters, propane, you name it. So we've put it on the sides. So.
Awesome. Okay, that's great. That's great. And then with that steel structure underneath, I imagine that track is solidly mounted.
Yes.
To it.
We've even hung hammocks between two campers and hung out that way. So it's pretty beefy.
So anything else on the outside that we should discuss before we move to the interior?
I think one more thing I'd like to mention, Nick, is just how incredible the engineering is behind the roof structure itself. And so you'll see on the camper 3 bends in that roof structure, the 90-degree bend at the end, and then 2 45s at the front of the camper. All of that is completely sealed from the outside. So those bends are routed in from the underneath. So there's no incursion in terms of fasteners from the top of the camper.
Nice.
So in terms of keeping it strong and avoiding weather incursion, incredible design by my partner, Joe.
Nice. Yeah, we've one of the guys in the Rogue Overland crew, amazing fabricator, and it's having those guys in your team is priceless.
Absolutely priceless.
Okay, awesome. So then yes, so great. Exterior covered. Let's talk a little bit about the interior. And I think I'll kind of let you go at it in the sense that you want, but the one thing I would like to chat about, you commented about your propane tank being able to be mounted on the outside. And in this scenario, it's advantageous because you actually have a heater inside this thing.
Oh man, we've been through the ringer on heaters, and whether it's the diesel heater, the Mr. Heater buddies, you name it, we've tried it. And, at certain price points, they all have their merits. And,
absolutely.
But, whether it's the clicking from the diesel heater, the smell of diesel fuel, or, the condensation from a heater buddy. We weren't happy yet. So we've teamed up with Propex here, and we're really putting it through the paces here, but we've got a propane heater through Propex that we're really loving. It's a nice dry heat, so it takes, the combustion's in a sealed chamber. The heater is inside, but it vents to the outside, so you don't get the condensation.
Nice. That dry heat, as they say, right?
Oh yeah, and you can't be beat. There's nothing worse than waking up in a soggy tent, right?
Absolutely.
And then it's got a thermostat, and it's just all plug and play. So you can keep your propane tank on the exterior. You just plug it in, turn it on, and your heater's going.
Nice.
So it's just been really carefree. Now the price tag is there to, you know, commensurate to the convenience, but it is awesome so far, so good.
You want to play, you got to pay sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we always say, you know, once you've figured out what you need, just buy it once. Buy once, cry once, right? Yeah. So if that's what works for your scenario, just get what's going to be good. It's not going to fail, because the other thing is there's nothing worse than being out and your equipment fails when the weather's really bad.
Oh yeah.
So I did want to comment, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think you said on a 2 or a 2.5 gallon propane tank, you guys have had this thing in, I believe it was 15 degrees, and you had about 40 hours of heat out of it, correct?
Yeah, surprised even us. So very efficient, and you know, that can't be beat. And it's nice to just only need one secondary fuel on the trail. You know, with the propane that can run your stove as well as your heater. So
yeah. Okay.
Big plus.
I like that. Okay, so yeah, go ahead. I know, maybe let's talk about the electronics, because I know you guys have your own in-house batteries and an electronic system that you're developing. So tell us about that.
So we're now designing our own battery systems through our sister company, Dirt Circuit, as well as lithium batteries. And so, did I say batteries already?
I don't think you did.
Okay,
but if you did, we'll emphasize lithium batteries.
And solar panels that are custom fit, the Dirt Circuit solar panels, 240 watt solar panel that goes and fits perfectly to the width of your EDC camper, and you can fit 2 of those on your Harker for a total of 480 watts coming into your battery system to run fridges, you know, your lights, charge up all your devices.
That's
and
huge.
With an inverter, you know, you can run those CPAP machines if you're getting up there and need one of those.
There you go, yeah.
You name it, you know, and so we really wanted to push the limits on battery capacity, the solar panels on the roof, because you've got that large roof that's pointed at the sky all day.
Yep.
You might as well be gathering those rays.
Yeah.
And same story with the battery. Nothing's worse than your battery going out at 3 a.m. on a cold night and your heater turns off and your lights are off, and then you're just toughing it till morning.
Yeah, I will say that I was impressed, and I'll be the first to admit that when we start talking about electronics and amp hours and all this stuff, it's not my cup of tea. I've got a good buddy of mine, kind of part of the Rogue Overland crew, shout out to Beardo, that I usually just say, hey man, this is what I need to do, like tell me what I need to have. But I was impressed because you said there's the battery right there, and it was X number of amp hours. You can comment on that, I don't remember what you said, but I was like, oh, that's it? Like that's the battery right there.
Battery so right in the wall.
We're gonna lay some B-roll over so you can see that, but how many amp hours was that?
So the battery you're looking at here today, Nick, is 200 amp hours. And it's the LiFePO, the lithium iron phosphate battery technology, which is the latest and greatest. And you know, originally we were messing around with just kind of the brick-shaped car battery, starter battery shape, and we designed a battery box to keep that inside the campers, but you've still got now a battery box that you've got to either tie down or stow or put in a cabinet somewhere. And so what we thought is, man, wouldn't it be nice? We've got this 2-inch steel frame with this negative space on the interior of the camper. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just wall mount the battery inside of the frame of the camper? And so that started the journey here to design the battery with Dirt Circuit. And yes, the battery here is 200 amp hour. We will also be offering a 100 amp hour version as well. Okay.
And I think that's a natural transition, because I found it amazingly impressive that it was just mounted off to the side. It's not taking up any of your walking or standing space. So maybe that's a natural progression. If you can comment kind of on what you guys have done with the floor space and the fact that there is so much standing room within the bed.
Yeah, you know, and the campers you'll be looking at today, these have been, you know, upgraded with optional equipment and custom equipment. When you come and you buy a camper from Harker, basically everything below your bedsides is going to remain the same, you know, unless we, you know, start building out the lower interior. So keep that in mind. But you mentioned standing room, and that was one of our key design principles that we were not willing to compromise on.
Awesome.
And so, yes, that bed gets up and out of the way, and you can walk, you know, I'm 6'1", you seem about the same. I can walk all the way to the back of the truck bed, and just barely my head touches the bottom of the bed structure at the back of the bed. So all that space. And what that does, in concert with the vertical walls on the Harker, which are also a distinctive design element, the sky is the limit on cabinetry build outs. So you could do, kitchen, fridge,
Nice.
benches with cabinets inside of them. And
Yep.
we're getting more into that to be able to offer those cabinetry build outs.
Okay.
And so stay tuned. Those will be coming soon as a standard option that can be
Nice.
added to the
Okay.
campers. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Okay. So in theory, as you guys move along, somebody could come in and sort of entry level, like just give me the EDC, or all the way up to give me some electronics, potentially give me some cabinetry.
Absolutely. And it's important to us, Nick, to find an affordable entry point. And so we do offer the base EDC pretty well stripped down.
Okay.
And I can tell you a little bit about how that would come. That would be, your hard-sided camper, L-track mounting system, top and bottom on both sides. Your tent and tailgate annex, as well as carpeted sleep platform, the lift-away sleep platform, carpeted ceiling and carpeted walls.
Okay.
So all those are included in
your
the base camper.
Base camper. Okay.
Yes. And then using that as a jumping off point, that camper is $89.99 is our entry point.
Oh wow, that's reasonable
for the Harker.
Yeah.
And that's what we're hoping is that's an affordable, if I can say that, for a $9,000 item, entry point into the world of the wedge camper.
Yeah.
And from there, yes, as you asked, Nick, I mean, our average ticket out the door is, usually in the 14 range as we, build out with the electrical systems, you name it, on the gear, on the exteriors and windows and access hatches, etc.
That's actually a natural transition then to comment here about where you guys are located and how people can get a hold of you. I will link the website and contact information in the description below, but where can people find you?
Sure, harkeroutdoors.com is our website. Okay. We're located in North Salt Lake, Utah. Find us at Harker Outdoors on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook.
Okay.
We'd love to chat.
Okay. And how about lead time? I know this can be a very challenging position for manufacturers. It's a frustrating spot for consumers. So what's a typical lead time if somebody comes in, does an order? What are we looking at?
Sure. And I appreciate you bringing this up. This is a point of pride for us at Harker in that we've intentionally gone out of our way to source as many of our components locally as we possibly can.
Oh, fantastic.
And that includes our soft materials. Our tent even is sewn locally.
Okay.
And we're very proud of that fact that it's built right here in Utah. By virtue of that, we've been able to avoid some of the supply chain pitfalls that maybe have been an issue for some.
Right.
That being said, to answer your actual question, as of filming today,
right,
we're at about 6 weeks on a build.
6? Oh, that's really not bad. Can be extremely frustrating sometimes and much longer lead time. So 6 weeks is reasonable. So you can be in the season, decide that you want one of these, and still get out in that same season. And if you watch any of our other videos, I'll put a link up here to our gear review playlist. But if you watch any of our other videos, you know that we are huge fans of products made in America. The Perfect Bungee and Bubba Rope being two of the ones that we throw out there all the time because we've used and abused them. And it's really nice to support small business made in America. So that's really cool that you guys are doing that with sourcing your products, raw materials, I should say, there around you locally. Okay, so we have covered the interior, and now I think it makes sense to comment on, you do have dealers that you work with, so can you comment a little bit on some other places that people can order the EDC?
Absolutely. So Fat Bob's Garage and Impulse Off-Road there in the Salt Lake Valley. So go see those guys. They can get you decked out with the Harker, get all the ordering done, and also do installs.
Okay, oh, awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
So if that shop is local to you, either of those shops, then you can order, get the exact same product, exact same build out that they could through you directly, and have it built out and installed at their shop.
Absolutely.
So I think we've covered it all. As we're wrapping up here, I just want to remind everybody, what does the EDC stand for?
I'm glad you asked. Expedition Driven Campers.
Okay, and to me, as we've been out today and we've wheeled the trail out here in Sand Hollow and we've walked through the setup, I think both of those things ring true, expedition and camper, because this is a self-sustained area to live, basically, to have shelter from the elements. and you have space and you can do some of your cooking and things like that, all sheltered from what's going on outside. And then secondly, I would say that when we talk about expedition, you can do what you want to do with it. So if you want to, if your normal style is to hit a campground, you could take this to most campgrounds if they're allowed size-wise. And then additionally, if you want to go hit the Rubicon Trail, you're still going to be able to do it with this on back. So it's a really cool design. Before we close it up, is there anything else you want to comment on?
You know, I think you make a great point there that, you know, there is the ongoing debate, right? Like, what is the ultimate overlanding setup, whether it's a trailer or a camper or a rooftop tent?
Right.
We think we have a compelling all-around setup that could appeal to very many people. And, you know, all of those other options, they have their benefits, they have their drawbacks.
Of course.
But in terms of an all-around solution, we think we've nailed it.
Yeah. I would agree. I would agree. And I'm not a hammer, and I'm still saying you nailed it. So that being said, if you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that like button. If you enjoy outdoor and off-road content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll see you on the trail.